The real adventurous nature of the trip was a massive draw for me. There's very few parts of the world that aren't really well known nowadays. To find an area with little information about it and no idea what you were really getting yourself in for was a big attraction of the trip. But Paul was really upfront with us from the beginning. He said there's a good chance you might not get to do any climbing at all because we might not make it to the foot of any routes. But it was such a cool adventure to go somewhere that barely anyone's been before. That overrid any potential risk of not actually getting to do any climbing.
We flew out from Kathmandu this morning and then we drove for 7 hours on some pretty bumpy roads. The plan for tomorrow is we're going to jump back in the Jeep for another few hours. We will drive until the road stops and then we'll start walking from there.
So I think maybe 5 days to base camp. So three days on this track, and then 2 days in this valley.
So here we are on day 2 of the trek, so far out in the middle of nowhere, so far away from where any tourists or Westerners go at all. And what was really telling was we actually met one of the passengers on the flight, said that he'd never ever before seen any tourists or Westerners get that flight before. So that kind of gave us an idea of what we were getting into. But pretty amazing scenery, kind of in the foothills of the Himalayas.
The trip was Paul's idea. I think I remember the first time he mentioned it, we were out climbing in the Tatras. He started talking about this valley that he'd come across on Google Earth called the Salimor Khola. And he thought that no other climbing teams had managed to find a route into this valley because it was guarded by this steep section of gorge. But Paul was really clear from the start. He was very much upfront with us and said there might be the possibility that you'll go on this trip and not get to do any climbing at all.
Stay here for today.
Paul's reputation and his success rate is phenomenal on these trips. It was such a good opportunity to go and learn from him and learn from someone who is one of the most successful alpinists in the world.
Paul has a very different way of doing things. Like, he is very much like, you are in the Himalayas and you have to appreciate that, and you climb in a very different style than you do in the Alps. I did learn a lot about the kind of pace and style of doing things in the Himalayas, which I would find hard. Even on the walk-ins and stuff, I just wanted to keep going and do 2 days walk in one day. But that's just not, you just don't do that because you need to be well rested and stuff when you arrive. We have to stay here for this day, so we've had no choice but to come and sunbathe on the beach. And this is a bit of that job about it as well.
It's really awful and we're very unhappy about the situation.
Terribly unhappy, this is just the worst. For some people, if they can find someone who's talented enough to get them up the objective, then that's who they'll pick. But for me, it is absolutely about who I'm going to have the most fun with. And Hamish and I just got on instantly. We actually met the first time on the Ben. We met just briefly on the hill, and then we did a lot of climbing together. But I think it was maybe more the partying side of things that we bonded over a bit more than climbing. We went to Croatia for a 7-day
techno festival. And so that was like when we kind of knew that we could get through anything together if we could do that.
God, do you do requests?
When I climb with Matt, he just gives me this real boost and self-belief that I can go and climb these hard pitches. And we get on really well and have a good laugh while doing it, which I think is the most important thing when you go out climbing, because it's meant to be fun, right?
So we've just arrived at the junction where we leave the trail, and this is the infamous gorge behind me, the one that we've not been sure whether we can get through or not, and it's pretty spectacular, it's got to be said.
We've arrived at the gorge, which is pretty gorgy. It looks pretty steep, but I don't think the porters are going to get through it. They all seem pretty done, so they're going to drop the bags here and head down tomorrow, and we might go and try and find a way for ourselves to get through the gorge. So this is base camp, pretty nice spot.
We took one look at the gorge and we realised that it was a quick and easy decision to stop and establish base camp there. And that was us for 3 weeks. Next day we just sort of split up to go and recce and see if we could find a route through the gorge. There was this big question mark that had hung over the whole trip up to that point. Me and Matt found this vague trail. It rose up the side of the gorge and basically took this tiny little path that went along a steep, exposed cliffside. The path kept going and going, and eventually it opened up into the valley.
Well, it goes. Yep. It does indeed. Yoo-hoo! Beautiful. There's a wee track that goes all the way around. It'll be quite interesting with big bags on it too.
That was quite a high point of the trip, knowing that we could find a route up through into the Salimor Khola.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit scary going on that exposed section carrying loads. Some of it.
We came back that evening and let everyone know that we had found a route through up into it. All we'd seen from the valley was on Google Earth, so we needed to go and explore it properly. And we also needed to acclimatise as well, because base camp was only at 3,800 metres. We packed up bags with about a week's worth of food, and Paul and Tim went off to explore the valley, and me and Matt went off to explore a different part of the valley.
So today was our first acclimatization in recce day. Oh, it is unbelievable. It's spectacular. You just look up around you and there's glaciers everywhere, and there's these massive mountains that go up in the hills. It's just the most bizarre landscape I've ever been in.
And the whole place to ourselves.
And the whole place, yeah, we just let loose. The two idiots have been let loose in this absolutely ridiculous place. Our third river crossing in 2 days, and it's safe to say we are not psyched about it.
We hiked all the way to the top and we saw this beautiful looking north face of Babea.
It's pretty amazing looking. As soon as it first came into sight, I couldn't take my eyes off it. Yeah, it's just, what a mountain. Really impressive. We
had a good look at it for a couple of hours. The parts of the face that did look climbable had massive cornices hanging over the top of them. We didn't really see anything that looked like it would go. So we ruled it out as a possible objective.
So it's day 5 or 6 of acclimatization in Reykjavik. Myself and Hamish are camping at 5,600 metres. It's just such a big place, everything's so far away, and it's taken a while to get used to the scale of things again. And it's our last night, hopefully, of acclimatization. We're going to go up to 6,000 metres, and then we can run all the way back down to base camp for a good feed and a nice warm bed.
The rest of the time we were up there, we didn't really see anything else that really looked that appealing as an objective. However, during the first day, while we'd been trying to find a route up through the gorge, Tim had, in this other valley he was exploring, had seen this pretty amazing looking gully line that ran up this really steep north face that led to an unclimbed 6,000 metre summit, which both me and Matt were pretty psyched to have a go at. We packed our bags with climbing kit and 6 or 7 days worth of food, hiked up for half a day and planned to sort of camp below it and then get a very early start the next day.
Yeah, so it looks like we have to jump across a fairly big pass. Not what you want to be starting over it in, for sure. But I'm sure it'll pass. It'll be fine.
So much for the sun coming out and clearing a bit of snow off the route this afternoon.
It's 4 AM, we're just melting some snow. We had a pretty bad night's sleep, and now we're going to go and walk up 700 metres to get to the base of the route through a pretty complex glacier, which could be quite exciting. Hopefully it gets light before we get there. We've just got to the bottom of the route. How's it looking?
Yeah, looking good at the start. It might be a little bit thin, the ice, but it looks like good sort of plastic snow ice. Yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
Looks really good.
I started up the first pitch, which was this sort of icy ramp, really thin ice, actually so thin that it wouldn't take ice screws. So that was an initial worry for us, is suddenly like, oh, okay, this ice is thinner than we'd hoped.
The first pitch was gorgeous neve, and then it was just a big snowy gully, and there was like one pitch of M4. We got up to the base of the steep section, and I tried, there's like a left-hand line, and it was started off with quite good neve, and it was like really quite technical and quite thin, and the gear wasn't great. And as I got higher and higher, I kind of got further and further above gear, and I could see above me that it was steepening up. And I was just, I had all these thoughts going on in my head about how far away from help we were, and I just really couldn't see how I was going to get through that, especially as it looked like it went on for quite a way above that. It wasn't like there was a shorter, hard section and then it got easier again. Like, we knew that there was quite a few pitches of this. And so we came down, and then we bivvied there just at the base of that steep section.
Good day. Feeling quite tired, but we've climbed about 800 metres from where we started this morning, so made some pretty good progress so far. And hopefully we can find a way through that steeper section tomorrow morning. We've managed to dig out a pretty massive ledge here, which should be fairly comfortable for the night.
We didn't have time to try the other side of it, the right-hand side of it, so we thought, oh, we'll dig in for the night here. At the top of this big snowy bay, we'd cut a ledge, put the tent up, and try again the next morning. We cut into the snow, pitched the tent, and had some food and went to sleep.
It must have been right in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning. I remember feeling Hamish pressing against me and like pushing me over and over. And I thought that Hamish has just like rolled over in his sleep, but he was actually being pressed against me because the entire side of the tent was getting collapsed. I just jumped out of the tent and I hadn't attached myself to anything, so I was just hanging on to the rope and like started to like dig like crazy behind it.
Jesus, watch the vent, watch the vent. Oh fuck. That's fucking loads of snow coming in. Oh fuck. Fuck. Help. Fuck. You okay?
And I called out to Matt to see where he was, and there was no reply. My heart totally sank at that point. I ran through all sorts of scenarios in my head. Had Matt been blown off by the spindrift coming down? Was I here on the mountain on my own? But then I called out to Matt again, and he was still there.
Matt, are you okay? Good. Fuck. Oh. I'm totally stuck in here. Oh, the tent's fucked. Yeah, I can see that much. I'm totally stuck, I can't move. I got my head out of the tent just about, but Can you do me a favour quickly before you dig out? Next to my hand there's a leash with a glove on it. Can you put it on my hand? Where? And you see my hand there. Let's pull that out. Yeah, put that on. My hand's fucking freezing. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Matt, do you want to tell me quickly what's happening?
Well, it's about 3:30 in the morning, and the tent has been buried by spindrift. Fortunately, we were not buried with it. It was very close. Hamish nearly got buried with it, and we've started trying to dig it out, with no luck, because the spindrift just keeps coming down and burying it again. So yeah, it's going to be a long night. It's kind of crushed the tent and snapped the poles. Yeah, so it's not great fun.
You just point to me where the tent is.
This is what's left of the tent, with all our belongings in it as well, so we have to excavate it. But every time we try and start, a spin just starts again and keeps burying it. So.
And that's my alarm going off. It's time to get going.
It was, quite a tough night. It was really cold, not being in the tent and not having our sleeping bags. And there was all this spindrift coming down around us, and we sort of had our feet just dangling out in the void below us.
So, after a pretty shit couple more hours sleep on a tiny little ledge, getting pummeled by spindrift outside of the tent, we managed to get the tent dug out this morning and all the other kit dug out, and we're both feeling pretty wiped, I think. That's fair to say, but Matt's going to have a go at this this pitch on the right. Try it on the right hand side, this steep wall, and see if the ice is okay. It looks quite compact rock, so it looks like it might be quite bold, but it'll be tricky to tell until we're on it.
It's the most compact rock you'll ever climb on, ever climbed on. There's very little gear.
What do you reckon? Do you want to try the left again, or?
Maybe. No, I don't want to, but I think I should. Okay, go. Maybe. I kind of just don't want to go down really. Feels a bit like giving up really early.
It's not an easy decision when you invested this much time in a trip and then you've seen a line so early on that you get excited about, and you kind of put all your eggs in one basket with that line, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we have time to go and do something else, but I just don't want to do something else. This looks class, you know. That's the problem. It looks really amazing. But yeah, maybe if we head down, we have time to do something else.
You always have that thing in your head. You're like, you could try harder. Maybe you were just scared, and maybe you should try again, you know, because you come all this way. But I think at the end of the day, like after that kind of night, and then getting onto something blank again and having to down climb like way above gear and stuff, I was totally finished with that. We got back down to the wee camp that we'd been at and had some food, and then just bombed straight down to the base camp again.
Neither of us just wanted to go and sit around in base camp. We wanted to give something else a go. On the other side of the valley from where we were, there was this unclimbed peak that it looked like you could find a route up the south face and then go about 2 kilometers along this ridge to reach this unclimbed snowy summit. We had 24 hours of trying to eat as much as possible, recover a bit, and then we set off again back up to the same valley. But I think both of us felt the same. We just felt pretty knackered heading up to this thing.
Hard work, eh?
We pitched one section, but then mostly moving together. And it was quite a spooky day. There was a lot of snow on the face, and there wasn't much in the way of protection. And as we got higher and higher, it started snowing again. There were these mini avalanches that kept going off around us. So we had to be quite careful with the sort of route that we took up. Our aim was to try and get up to the top of this south face in a single day. Having had a pretty bad bivvy experience on the previous thing, we wanted to get to a decent spot with nothing that could fall down on top of us.
Big day today.
Big day. Got another big day tomorrow.
You tell me about it.
Yeah, we did 1,000 meters of kind of wading, and it was kind of snowing for a lot of the day. I set off a couple of avalanches very close to where I was, and nearly got taken away with a couple of them. Hamish did the same. Now we've finally come to a nice flat bivvy spot, which is really lovely. We got here just as it got dark. Yeah, and it was still snowing until we got here, so hopefully tomorrow will be clearer. It's a hard day.
How are you feeling now?
Yeah, pretty sore. Legs are pretty sore.
Feeling pretty done in. Definitely one of the harder days I've had in the mountains in a long time. just been traversing along this endless ridge, and it's actually been quite interesting, you know, like little bits of mixed terrain, but it just seems to go on and on and on. About midday the weather closed in, and now we are in whiteout, very Scottish conditions, but hopefully not too much further. We're at 6260 at the moment, and the summit is 6310. So, and we just stopped for some lunch here, and we did just see a summit over in like the clouds cleared for a bit, and we saw a summit up there. Hopefully that's it. But yeah, we just keep on trucking. So, despite our hopefulness that that might have been the summit, turns out it wasn't, and we were only about halfway along the ridge. So we pushed on a bit further yesterday, but it means we're probably going to have another night up on the ridge, being hopefully going to push for the summit this morning. We could see it last night when we got in. It's really not far. It's probably about 300 meters more of mixed ground, and then another 300 meters or so of steep snow slogging to get to the top. So we sort of talked about it last night and whether we were going to go for it or not, and decided we're going to give it a go. And then hopefully retreat back along the ridge as quickly as possible and try and make some good headway back along the ridge today. But hopefully we'll get to a summit today.
We've just stopped sort of the summit that we wanted to climb. We've been traversing this kind of heavily corniced ridge for the last day and a bit, and it's a pretty profoundly devastating and wonderful moment. It's pretty heartbreaking, but just like looking at it along the ridge is just spectacular. It's one of the most incredible moments.
Why do we turn around?
So we turned around because the last bit up to the summit is really heavily corniced, and we watched an avalanche come down the other side that we wanted to go up. So it just started to feel like we were kind of taking unnecessary risk because we couldn't really protect it at all, and I nearly fell through a cornice a couple of times on the way there. So yeah, we just started, and we'd already got to like a summit that was nearly the same height, so it started to feel a bit arbitrary and a bit like it wasn't really worth the risk. So although it is pretty hard to swallow, it's still pretty amazing to be here, and yeah, it's a pretty unbelievable experience regardless. The views aren't bad either. There's just something really beautiful about doing this and then not being able to do the thing that you wanted to do and just having to do it for the sake of it and having to just enjoy the horrendous experience. There's something really heartbreakingly beautiful about it.
We had been in touch with Tim and Paul via InReach, and they were both pretty done in. But they messaged to say they reached the summit and were on their way down. They'd obviously had, given it everything. I don't think I have too much regret about turning around because we had a bloody amazing experience anyway, and doing it with my best pal was like the icing on the cake as well, sort of strung out in this pretty wild environment. Arguably making the summit makes the trip successful. But in my head, it was a successful trip because I had an amazing experience and got this really unique life experience that most people would never get to experience themselves.
I feel completely exhausted, and also got a bit of frostbite on my little finger, so it's yeah, pretty normal really. Makes you wonder why you do these things.
The way to approach the mountains there and the respect that you have to have for them, I don't think I had that before because I hadn't done something that was so far away and like took so long to get to and was so remote. I got exactly what I wanted, you know, like I really wanted something that was wild and that was remote and it was like a proper, what I felt like was a proper expedition where nobody really knew much about it, and so I would love to do more of that, but maybe just not yet.
What sort of things are you guys looking forward to when you get home?
A lot of them I can't say on camera. No comment from me.